Dave Moore. I know. We always have a lovely chat. Like I have chats with people, and I go, "I better start this and make it all very fucking." And then I say their name.
Yeah, it's all official.
As if nobody read your name on the thing. Going, I wonder who he's got on today. Little surprise guest for us.
Well, I can't wait for your 15-minute script-written intro you have for me, listing all my achievements. Like I always hear on those American podcasts, like, Jesus, just get on with the guy.
7 seconds. If I can't cram it into 7 seconds, it's not worth saying. Like literally, I will top and tail this by saying hello to people and then go, and Dave, you know.
Dave Moore, you're a man off the radio. 7 words.
There you go. Now we're talking about Dahi Moore, aka Dave Moore. So obviously, Big Dave. Dave Moore, Dahi Moore.
Dave Moore, that guy, yeah, Big Dave. Big Dave. Dahi on Moore's spot.
Love it. How are you keeping it? Because you're a national treasure. You've turned into. Have you realised that? Did you feel that happen? Did you feel that happen? The wave that
I feel
a handful of people like Enya got, like Samantha Mumba got it. A national treasure. It just comes like where you'd love to just be going or hanging around. Like I love Dermot.
Okay,
but Dermot would definitely on a sesh. I could see him starting a row with somebody that I'd have to sort out.
Oh, 100%.
But you...
100%.
I could see you getting absolutely legless and you'd be still gas cracking the cab. Do you know that kind of way? Chips flying out the side of your mouth, like, but you'd be still... Hey, well, lads.
Come on, we'll go again.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, you have us there. The only difference is, though, because it's radio, you listed Enya, you listed Samantha Mumba. These are people who need privacy.
Oh, yeah.
I can go anywhere. I can go into a shop and buy a pack of Johnnies and no one knows who I am.
Yes. Yeah. Because of course, and there's even because your faces are a lot of places, that's all it is, your face, and it's still moving. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just a still on the side of a bus.
Exactly.
So literally, unless you're pulling that face, nobody's gonna go.
Yeah, I suppose the social media stuff, I suppose, has changed it a fair bit, and maybe those kind of in studio videos that we do. So, like, look, I was just on holidays. I was in East Cork for the last week, and you're kind of walking down the road, and you see someone clock you or whatever, and they'll smile over and give you a wave, and you give them a wave back or whatever. But it's not like I don't need to live in a tower like Enya does in a castle away from everyone. You
have to remember, Dave, you were in East Cork. That's Crystal Twin territory. You're small news. You are small news.
That is fair. That is absolutely fair.
It's a grand spot. That's what we've all returned to, isn't it? Heading, like finding some rocky old place where nobody can find us. Just that's what.
100%. And it's funny, like there's kind of the world of coincidences and all that. So in 2019, myself and the family had a couple of massive holidays. We went to Australia for 3 weeks, and that was incredible. And then we went to Spain, where we go a fair bit because my wife's parents live out there and her brother and stuff. So we were out there, and we were coming home on the plane after the Spanish holiday in the middle of July or whatever it was. And we just said to ourselves, you know what? This is 2019. We said, in 2020, let's just holiday in Ireland.
Yeah.
And the kids were like, what? We want to go to Bali and Moscow. It's like, no, we're going to go to Killarney and we're going to go to Mayo.
Yeah.
And we just decided to pack in, like, the 6 of us. So packing us up on a plane with suitcases and passport. We're like, can we just lash us all into the car and drive somewhere else? Like, and then lockdown happened. No one was going anywhere. We already had all our stuff booked. So by the time the lockdowns lifted a little bit, we could go. We went to Mayo. We could go. We went to Killarney.
Lovely.
It was class. But then this year, not that, look, you wouldn't be really doing international travel maybe till the end of the summer or whatever, but the kids were like, can we definitely stay in Ireland again this year?
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Wow.
Totally convinced of it.
So you had them spoiled rotten by bringing them to lovely places. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, we can just hang around in Ireland and not have the dose of an airport. So kids learn early too. Like, airports are beyond doses. Like.
They're, stop. Now, in fairness as well, the thing is, like, if you go anywhere around Ireland now, these places are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like okay, and we all know naturally the place, like the scenery and all is amazing. But hotels and like the ones we stayed in, like they have houses or apartments on the grounds of the hotels. So you get all the stuff you can do. You can go swimming in the swimming pool. You can eat breakfast in the breakfast room, and you can eat dinner in the whatever. But instead of being in a hotel room with 4 kids, which is a nightmare, and you have an apartment or a house, and you get that, and you kind of go, this is incredible. Like, we had a ground floor apartment in Killarney, and we had a bungalow thing in in Cork where we were there, and it's just kids. I'm going outside. Off you go. Like
Correct.
they're not even going down the stairs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's gas. You said that because we had the year we got married for 4 years ago, and you are intrinsically tied in a moment of this because I'd been gigging abroad a lot that year. And my brain was ready to turn inside out with having to stand behind one more person in flip-flops going, I just don't get why we have to queue. And I'm going, oh my, I was twitching. So we got married and Natasha said to me, where do you want to, I said, can we just go, could just fuck off west? Just point the car west and see what
happens.
Ended up in Mayo. On the way to Mayo, with a couple of fascinatingly strange places booked that were brilliant, with just meeting mad yokes of the West, you know, wild people, like with hairy nostrils and stuff like that, and just fucking fire coming out of their ears. And we met this on the way over. I got a phone call from one of the lads, Owen Colgan from the Hardy Bucks, going, would you be free to jump on one of the days? I said, you're not going to believe this. I'm literally driving through Swinford. Oh, there's the cameras. And he went, Jesus, drive. I said, I can't really. I'm kind of on the old honeymoon. He went,
honeymoon, yeah.
And in fairness, she went, actually, you can pop down for it. I said, if I pop down, wildness, but no, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
I landed in the hotel and Dermot rang me.
No.
Yeah, and he went, how are you, Tom? Would you be free in next week, well, in a couple of days' time, to open for us on the live show? I went, Era, I'm kind of on the old honeymoon there.
There's a slight hiccup there.
And in fairness, he went, oh God, no. And I was thinking in my head, I got a free pass for the Hardy Bucks. Would I get a free pass to fuck off to Cork with the lads? I wonder. Maybe not.
Probably not good. Probably not a good idea. No.
But especially for a comedian, I think like so many holidays abroad. Yes, you can come back with your stories about them, but they can all end up being a bit samey a lot of the time, unless it's something fantastical, like you literally met Bilbo Baggins, you know what I mean? But I just find in Ireland, because every county is like a new world, like especially the west of Ireland, you're going, are we the same? Are we of the same species? Like, because this is wildness.
Well, that's it. And like my kids, in fairness to them, as I said, have been all around the world. And when we went to Cork this week, we based ourselves in East Cork, as you said, the wilds of East Cork. And within a 15-minute drive, let's face it, kids don't want to be, no matter they don't want to be in the car. They want to be on their holidays.
Yeah.
They want to be in the open farm, not going to the open farm.
Yes.
But literally everything was a 15-minute drive. And I mean, mad things. Like, so we went to Spike Island off Cove. Like,
lovely.
Spike Island, it was a prison for freaking Republicans and joyriders in the 80s. And we brought the kids out, and they had literally the best bit of their holiday was, what was your favorite? Went to Spike Island. They all loved it. Like, it's
this is where they kept the rat.
Yeah. That's what they were like. We did Photo Wildlife Park. We took one of the tours, and we ended up feeding rhinos and stuff. And just, it's belugas. Like, and you realize, literally, like, I was, Castlemartyr, and you're like, let's go to Cove, and then it's like, well, let's go to Fota, and then let's go to, like, everything is just centered around it. It was just an amazing trip from that point of view.
I built that golf course in Castlemartyr.
You did not.
I did.
That is a stunner. That is an absolute stunner.
And we had a tight spot to squeeze that into, because they'd only 90 acres, but we crowbarred in 18 holes in there.
Fair play, because it's funny, we were sitting out in the beautiful gardens out. So what would actually be the front of the house if you were back in 17, whatever, because it looks out onto the gardens rather than what we would actually walk in as the front nowadays. But we were there, and the golf course passes by, like a good bit in the distance, but you can kind of see that and my wife is going, it's very close, isn't it? And I was like, it is actually. But then I was kind of thinking to myself, I'd seen some aerial pictures, and I was like, I don't think there's actually that much Castlemartyr land here.
No, there isn't.
You said 90 acres is not a lot.
No, you'd normally need about 300 at least starting, but we greased her up and we got her in there, all right?
Yeah. Back her in, lads.
Tell me this. You're a musician first, aren't you?
Yeah, musician first, and all this radio thing is, I'm only doing this part-time. That's been my attitude since day one, Tom. That, like, I'm doing this thing. I signed up for a 6-month contract to give it a go. That was in 2002.
I love that, like you're doing a J1.
Yeah.
Totally. Jesus.
But that's me. Like, I literally walked in off the street like had never been in a radio station, had never, I had no experience, had no interest in radio, nothing, and walked in and got the breakfast show on a big station in Dublin, like the biggest station in Dublin at the time. And they just went, go in there and talk with your man. And I was like, yeah, grand, whatever. And then it was only kind of 2 or 3 years later when you understood the landscape of radio, you went, that's odd what happened to me 3 years ago. Do you know, why did I get that job when I literally had no idea what I was doing? But it's kind of been the way of it, to be honest.
I love the notion that something mental had literally happened this moments before you went, oh, hello. And you were going, what the and they like somebody literally got shot out of a cannon, the host, by accident out the window, and is still live on air. And went, that guy, you get in there immediately.
Just start talking, see what happens.
Did you say you lived in Russia? So I'm bounced all over the place, but I get very excited when people say things that go, Russia.
Yeah, I lived in Russia from September 1995 until August 1996.
The good years.
Oh, the wall came down, the money was a-flowing, the criminals were everywhere, and it was wild. You talk about wild. I'll tell you this. I was my third year in college, so I studied business studies and Russian in Trinity, as every broadcaster.
You crafty bastard. You saw the writing on their wall. Forget it, so tied in with broadcast, but the fact that you didn't go, I could just schlev with all these other guys. And so I tell you, you're a fucking spy. Great. We're out and you're here. This is KGB stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Who studies business and Russian? In Trinity for winners.
Я могу все, да, в Trinity College. Я study русский язык. Yeah, so I did. I look, basically, I finished school and I did French for the Leaving Cert. I'd done German for the Intercert, and I wanted to go to Trinity. I wanted to do business because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So business is just a catch-all. And I wanted to do another language. And because I had the French and German kind of already in the bag, I said, well, I'm not going to do them. And they were the three choices were business and French, business and German, business and Russian. So I said, sure, I'll give that a bash, see how we go. And yeah, here I am, still fluent in Russian this many years later. Like,
are you still fluent?
Yeah. Well, I suppose fluent is a strong word. No, I would have lost a lot less than I thought I would lose, I suppose is the politest way to put it. Like, because like when I lived there, so I finished my finals in 1997. I'm not very good at maths, but I think that's 24 years ago. And I still can walk up to anyone from Russia and have a full-on conversation, no bother. Now, I might struggle for a word that I wouldn't struggle for in 1997, or I might make the mistake of making something feminine when it's masculine or whatever, like, small stuff. But yeah, by and large, it's still there. And I've used it so infrequently. But it's just, I think when you live somewhere for a long period of time, like I went to college in Russian, I worked in Russian, I lived in Russian, I had friends in Russian, nothing was in English anymore, you know what I mean? So right, I think a year of that kind of immersion is just, it sticks with you,
Also, the KGB training that you went through is not going to ever slip.
Yes, no.
So you walked in, where did you go to school? Please tell me you went to a fancy school, or did you go to a mad school?
I went to Belvedere College.
Oh, say no more.
I was the valedictorian of Belvedere College, Tom.
Did you know Andy Dunn, the rugby player?
Andy Dunn. No, I didn't know Andy. I'm sure he's much younger than I am.
You wouldn't be far off. He has
I'm fierce old.
No, he's in around the fierce. I'm fierce old too, but he's fierce old like yourself. He's a physios in Rathmines, but he
he
rocked the Belvedere days back in the day. He was one of the boys.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't kind of one of the guys. I was a Northsider, so I wasn't allowed to be one of those guys. So I just had to
they knocked that accent out of you fairly quickly, though.
They did, yeah. I had to stick with my normal accent when I was in there, yeah. So loved Belvedere. In fairness, great school for me. Did national school here where my kids are going now, actually, in Portmarnock, and then into Belvedere, and then Belvedere to Trin, and then Trin to St. Petersburg University, and then back to the Trin, and then I made a deal with my parents. So I was, as I said, musician all the way up through school, wanted to be a rocker, wanted to be in a band, wanted to go on tour and live the life. And then my parents were like, cop on and go get a degree. And then I was like, no, I'm a rock star, man. And they were like, I'll tell you what, get a degree. And then if you want to be a rock star afterwards, we'll help you out. And I was like, sounds fair. So I could still be in a band in college, I could still do all
Yeah,
that
of
stuff.
course, yeah.
So so I went to Trinity, did my degree, like, did great, got my good results, whatever, and then had a job offer from Moscow, not a KGB job, a normal business job, paying like ridiculous money, and a driver, a car, an apartment, like 2022 it would have been.
Is this
was
proper
like,
oligarch money, like real
yes,
cash?
this was like it was actually going to work for an oligarch, was what it was.
Of course, yes.
So my parents were like, "Oh my God, we're going to miss you so much," and I was like, you remember you said that I could be a rock star? And they were like, what? I found a place in Black Rock where they teach professional jazz, and I want to go there for a year. And they were just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
He's lost. He's
serious?
lost
Like,
us.
yeah. I was like, look, I can go to the oligarch in 12 months. They're like, okay, fair enough. We'll pay for you to go to this ludicrous music school where you study the circle of fifths and the theory of music and whatever. So I did that, but by the time the year had ended, I had taken out a massive bank loan, bought myself a recording studio in the bedroom in my parents' house, set it all up, and then said to them, right, I need to go down and work in the petrol station in the daytime so that I can pay for the bank loan I've taken out to get the studio gear, and then I'll be up all night recording music, and then I'll be back in the petrol station. And they were like, do you know what, just do whatever you want. So fair enough, I did. And that was my career for 5, 6, 7 years. I just wrote songs, produced music, did scores for film, for TV, made ads, did everything. And I recorded voiceovers actually for comedians, funny enough, Tom, but you were only a baba by the time I was doing that. But I was recording. So comedians and actors would record voiceover demos to try and get, like, voiceover work is so lucrative. I'm sure you've done stuff in the past. It's ludicrous. Oh, this is going on TV. You're like, right, get a new car. So you know what I mean? It's mental stuff. Like, so I would help them record stuff. So they'd bring out scripts, come out to my studio, they record the voiceover. While they're sitting there, I'd dicky it up with, music and sound effects, whatever. And they'd walk out 2-3 hours later with a CD, because this was back in the days when you could only burn CDs. You burn a CD, and they'd walk out with a CD, and they could go off and make 10 or 20 copies of that and give it to every studio in town. So I was doing all that, and then Des Bishop was a good friend of mine. I'm sure you've worked with Des loads of times. And he and I were working on a rap musical about the political history of Ireland. So that's what we did for a summer. And we were out to dinner actually in Limerick when the show was on, and one of the places it was on. And he was like, man, you should be doing voiceovers. You get so much work. You're always doing cartoon voices and whatever. And I was like, yeah, but sure, like, I don't know anyone. I don't know how to get into that. And he's like, see your man. And like, there was the guy who's producing the show. It was like, yeah, Richard. He's like, yeah, he's the biggest actor agent in Ireland. It was Richard from Lisa. Basically, who I didn't know from Adam. He was just the guy producing the play. And I was like, Richard, will you be my voiceover agent? He was like, yeah, over a bite of steak and a glass of wine. I was like, nice. So I did a voiceover demo like literally the next week, and it was kind of like impersonations, a bit of Russian. I could do accents, speak a good few languages. So there was loads of stuff kind of messing around, cartoon stuff, whatever. Gave it to him. He sent it out to like all the studios in Dublin, and literally I got one job. I was a pizza delivery guy. I think it was for 4-Star Pizza. And hilariously, I went in to do the voiceover, did it, and then I got a phone call when I got home from the agency saying, could I do the music? They didn't know that I was the voiceover, but they were like, hey, we have this 4-Star Pizza ad. We need music first. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like,
2 checks.
4-Star Pizza. Yeah, literally 2 checks. Yeah, absolutely. That was my only job I got out of this thing. And then the next thing that happened to me was I met a woman in town with this really mysterious phone call. She could have been a KGB spy, actually. She just said, can you come in and meet me for a cup of coffee? I want to talk to you about a project. And I was like, well, details? She's like, no, just meet me. And I was like, I'll just go meet you. So I met her in Metro Cafe, which is still there, up near Stephen's Green. We sat down, chatting away for 20 minutes, half an hour. And then these 2 men came in, and a New Zealand guy and a guy from Carlow. And they were good cop, bad cop. New Zealand guy was friendly and warm and asking all these nice questions. And every now and again, the Carlow guy go, who's the captain of the Dublin football team? I go, what? So this be like this be a conversation like this, and you just go, hey, who scored a goal for Leeds in 1974 World Cup final? And I'm like, what is happening? And then he just go off, whatever. So then they left, and she was like, "Oh, I think you made a very good impression." And I was like, "On who? What? Like, tell me." "No, I can't tell you. I can't tell you." That was a Monday. On the Wednesday, she had me back in with what was a microphone, and back then a mini disc recorder. And she made me go out and record things around town, like talk about things. And I just met my mates and interviewed them about Roy Keane and Saipan, because that had just happened, whatever. Went back, dropped off the stuff, went off again. And then on the Friday, she got me back into a place called Grand Canal Quay. Never been there before, somewhere on the south side. Went over, walked into a building, and I walked into a room, and it was like a grown-ups play date. I walked into a room, Dermot was there, and she went, "You two get on, we'll be back in 20 minutes," and shut the door behind her. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we were like, "All right." He was like, "Yeah, how are you?" And I was like, "What's this?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, where are we?" And he's like, "Oh, this is 98 FM. And I was like, "The radio station?" Like, "Yeah, why are you here?" I was like, "I don't know. I've had the weirdest week, mate. I've no idea what's going on." And like the only radio reference I had in my head was Alan Partridge. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, of course.
One of the best comic
the
creators
greatest things of all time.
Yeah.
Radio
so I kind of went, yeah. So I kind of did that. I kind of went, "Oh, like radio, like, hello, Bob Alan Partridge." And he went, "Oh my God, you like Alan Partridge?" I was like, "Yeah, do you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And we were instantly best friends because of Alan Partridge.
Of course.
And then, honest to God, that was 20 years ago, or something like that, almost 20 years ago. And the next thing I knew, I was just doing radio with Dermot.
I love this. Do you know those travelators in airports where you're walking along and you go, "Oh, I'm on this now. I can stop walking," and just sail by. And that has literally been how you're from, let's say, because your parents were cool as a breeze as well, by the sounds of things. Literally from the middle of school to valedictorian now. Well, that's going well. Oh, here we are over in Russia. What's this about? Would you like to pay me £1 million a year and a driver? No, God, jazz. I play jazz. And your parents are going, "Keep going. Good on you. Good on you, kid." Petrol station recording, multi-million. Like, this just is just sailing still on that travelator the whole way through.
That is such a good analogy. I haven't actually heard that one before, but that's a really good analogy, because I haven't made these decisions. All I've been is open to crazy stuff happening. I've just been like, sure, I'll give it a go. Like, that's literally been my attitude, and that's what's paid off for me, you know. And like, say even the tour that you're talking about that we tried to get you to do a show with us on, like, I'm not a comic. I've never done stand-up. I haven't done, you've the Halfpenny Bridge there behind you. I haven't done the Halfpenny Inn. I haven't done any of the comedy clubs in Dublin. I've never done any of that. So I've no right to be on stage. And the very first comedy tour I do, I walk in, and the first stage I walk out on is the INEC with 2,000 people.
Jesus Christ, that's your first gig.
Stupid. I don't deserve to be on. I should be in the International going, what's to do with airline food? Like, that's what I should be doing. No, the Travelator. What's this? I'm on stage now in the INEC with 2,000 people. Cool. Let's just do it. Like, that's me. Like, literally, you're right. Since school, that's been the way it is. Like.
But isn't that a mindset that, I mean, if you were to listen to right gurus, if you were to listen to Dermot, he'd tell you, although maybe Dermot's maybe a bit more, if you were to listen to real woo-woo stuff to a degree, and I'm starting to buy into it, that if you are naturally that open to things, but keep a good work ethic about you, and just keep the ball in the air, shit will come your way, like.
Spot on. I think the key is, this is going to sound so woo-woo.
Please
write it on clouds, okay, Tom? Put it on your Instagram. Prepare for luck. So,
Jesus, that is deep.
Luck is So literally think about that for a second, though, because it's actually quite easy.
My mullet just shivered. I don't know if you saw that. It just actually just shivered.
It is possibly the finest hairstyle I've seen in my life, but I can't even comment on it. It's so good. But what I mean by that is that like only by saying to myself, right, if I go down this path that I don't really know what's going to happen, but okay, I'm probably going to need to know, if I want to be a musician, for example, I need to know how to play the guitar. So I learned that when I was 12. But I also need to know how to play the piano, I need to know how to play the bass, play the drums, I need to learn how to sing, I need to learn how to rap. And when I was a musician and I was writing and producing music, the reason I got work over other guys who were far more talented than I was because I was totally versatile. So somebody could say to me, I need a jazz version of a Kylie Minogue song, or I need, a rap version of, I remember I did the theme tune to a show on RTE called Ballet Chancellors, right? And it was the Nutcracker Suite. They wanted the Nutcracker Suite to sound like hip hop. Because what they were doing is they were taking street dancers and trying to make them do ballet.
Okay.
And they had this kind of prima ballerina who was like the host of the show, or whatever. So they had gone to some guy who had told them that it was impossible to make bling, 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 bling. Impossible to make that into a hip hop song. And I was like,
hold my beer, says more.
Yeah. Like literally within 5 minutes, I had a demo sent off to them. They were like, amazing, dude. But that was the thing. It was that openness and that versatility and that, prepared to do. I don't mean do anything as in undervalue yourself, but I mean do anything as in someone says to you, look, I need these. I've got this corporate, presentation in tomorrow at 2:00, and I need these 7 pieces of music. Can you do them? Will you stay up all night and I'll pay you £5,000? And I'm like, yes, I will. As opposed to, well, I don't really feel inspired right now. It's like, no, fucking just do it. So just prepare yourself. So by the time I needed to be musically versatile, I had learned heavy metal, hip hop, jazz, classical music. I had listened to them all intensely, and I had understood them, so that when somebody said to me, can you make, Tchaikovsky sound like Run DMC? Absolutely, I can do it, because I understand both languages. So I was preparing myself without consciously saying I need to. It was just, it's a kind of a natural state for me, is to open myself up to, well, if I need to do this, I'll probably need to learn this.
That's cop on to, Dave, in all fairness,
that might be, yeah.
And that's only to simplify it. The reality is that you've a fierce cop on, as well as if somebody said, I need you to build that house. At no point you're going to go, well, I suppose we'll just magic it, will we? Yeah. We'll just wait around and water it. Dave would find a way to build that house.
Yeah, that's spot on, Tom. And I actually literally physically done that. But I have built I wanted to put a big playroom and a shed thing out in the back garden for the kids, and I got quotes. They were like, cheapest quote I got was 22 grand for a freaking showroom.
I have a pain in my chest.
Yeah, and I was like, this is ludicrous, right? So I just went to myself, what's involved in this? And I had a look around, and look, I've gotten a bit handier as the years have gone on, and I kind of went, okay, I need to build a floating floor so that there's no moisture issues. I need to have a little bit of concrete here, there, and everywhere. And then it's just a wooden frame and cedar cladding and a bit of it. And I went, I can do this. And within 2 months of watching YouTube videos, I went out there and I built it. And that's all that is hard work in preparation, prepared to make a mistake, and then just give it a bash.
Yeah. Because people do look at even me oddly, like when coming from an opposite, but lads that I went to college with or worked with even, and they would just go, but what? How did this happen? How did you? 1 minute you're screaming at people on the building site, and then the next time I see you, you're having a great time rocking the Opera House in Cork. And what? How did? But it won't sit with them, because they aren't open to the notion that you can pull the handbrake and go that way, because and all it means is, yes, okay, in my preparations, like you said, I didn't prep and I walked in. In all fairness, you've been smashing music stuff for a long time. You've been absolutely grilling stuff, performances of one shape or another. It wasn't that you literally left a bank job and went, right, now I'm ready for the INEC. You know what I mean?
That's fair. And look, the radio stuff would prepare you as well. And I mean, we naturally created a live show that was an extension of the radio show, and it wasn't just, two of us with 2 microphones for 2 hours. It was radio segments all over the shop. And the thing, I remember Jason Byrne was on stage after us. The very first show we did, he was on stage after us. Whatever time we finished, he went on afterwards, and it was kind of a turnaround in his show, whatever. And I remember I met him for breakfast in the hotel the next morning, and he went, what was the sheet of paper that looked like a gig set list? And I was like, oh, it's like, yeah, that's literally what it was. It was a set list of our show. He's like, there were 17 things in that. I was like, yeah. Like, were there 17 bits of your show? And I was like, Yeah, that's how. And to me, it was like a gig. Everything was this song and then this song, and then
Yeah, of
we
course.
change our outfits and do this song, and it worked perfectly like that, you know.
I suppose it is. Yes, like it literally is like a music gig. Like you're going to have, yeah, you're going to have to break it down. That was what I actually struggled from that with something very similar, but I was coming from the other way around from doing stand up. Okay, you'd have a loosey goosey notion of your bits that you're going to do over an hour or whatever, but I got cast in a one man play, and I
Wow.
mean it was 2.5 hours of a play. Oh Jesus Christ!
Oh my God.
But like that, the first couple of nights, I literally had a set list behind, but it was 24 items and they were broken down to sub items, like because I just couldn't retain it. I couldn't. But if I spotted that mark and it was behind the sofa that was on set, and in fairness, my opening night, it was actually in Bray in the Mermaid, and I hit a wall about an hour and 25 in. I hit a wall, and it was a sitting point where I'm getting real deep, and I went, does anybody else know what my next fucking line is? And in fairness, it was only comedy that had given me the confidence to go.
Yes, the confidence, exactly.
Point out the elephant in the room, Tom, because they're all watching and they're in on it with you a bit, you know. And I go, excuse me. And I walked around the back of the sofa and kept walking in one look and walked back down. We're back on the horse again.
But see, you're right. That is something I think that really helped me going in, you know, green to comedy, live comedy, was the radio experience of embracing the mistake.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because there was for the first 3 or 4 years, like, and Dermot's much more of a perfectionist than I am, but we would have fed off each other. Where, like, you know, if we hit the wrong button, or if we, you know, if the thing didn't go exactly the right time, the sound effect wasn't cued the right time, you know, we were disappointed, and we were like, that could have been way better. And maybe part of that was the training, but by the time we hit kind of 3 years in, we just realized, no, hang on. The audience is on this journey with us. We're not here to provide some kind of perfect, rehearsed, you know, performance. This is real. We're just two lads having the crack. Yeah. And so if I hit the wrong button, or he says the wrong thing, or then let's laugh at it. And then that's what's really fueled our success over the years then, is that attitude that, you know, because by the time we started in radio, it was just coming to the end of the personality of radio.
Yes,
like where, you know, Jerry Ryan, Tony Fenton, like the guys who, let's face it, they talk like this, but they didn't really talk, but they talked radio the whole time. Like, but they were gods, you know. These were the men who, like, you know, if they rocked up to your town, you know, in the Roadcaster in 1986, you'd die if Barry Land came to your town or whatever. Whereas by the time we started, it was like the public was hungry. Reality TV was, it was like, no, we want are they just two lads having a chat? That's what we want, you know, that they're the same as us, as opposed to these kind of otherworldly beings. And I think that's really been our currency the whole time, is just a couple of lads just, you know, sitting in the pub having a chat, and you're just listening in over their shoulder. You know?
You were podcasts before podcasts were podcasts, in a way, you know, that kind of way, because that's a day. And you can hear some radio shows since you kind of started with that. Some radio shows have crowbarred two people together, and it's like,
oh yeah,
oh Jesus,
Tom, like there isn't a day goes by that I'm genuinely, and I don't, again, this is not woo-woo stuff, but I genuinely mean this, that I'm not grateful for the fact that Dermot and I found each other. Like, because the traditional radio duo is a 3-year thing. It's 18 months to get good, and it's 18 months to start to hate each other. And that's literally, you can see it all over the world. It's not Irish, it's a radio thing. And a duo is so hard to do. It's almost easier to do a Zoo Crew thing where there's 8 people.
Yes.
The wacky sports guy, and then, oh, here comes the traffic girl, and weird comedy guy, come on in, mate. Like, that's easy because there's so many personalities. But when there's 2 people, it has to be right.
Yeah.
And the pressure that we put ourselves under to perform, and the performances that we do every day, and, you know, if we don't love each other and respect each other and trust each other, there's no way you can do that for more than 3 years. And we're now coming up, honestly, in August, it will be 19 years together on radio.
Wow.
19 years. And not a crossword, Tom, not once. Like, And I don't have that with my friends. I don't have that with my wife. I don't have that with my kids. The only person I have that relationship with is him. And it's so rare. And I genuinely, as I said, every single day, I know coming into work, I go, oh man, I got to see Dermot. And we're going to have the absolute crack.
Isn't that
that's my job?
But that stuff does come across. And people may not understand why they like a thing. A lot of the time, people don't know why they like a thing. Like people, you'll be on stage when I'm doing comedy, and it has taken me, truth be told, 8 to 9 years to hit that vein where people go, I don't know why I like him, but I like it.
Do you know? I do.
And they don't know why they like it, and that you don't want them to know why they like it. But the reality is, I'm having a fucking ball. I'm having savage cracking going. I have to stop myself cracking up in moments going, oh, this is some cracking it, lads. Can you believe it? Do you know? And I often will, but also that stage maturity that we were talking about, where you hit them, where you have to point out the elephant in the room, go, I don't know what's coming next. Or also like you hit the wrong button. But definitely people will smell a rat, whether they consciously or subconsciously, if the two of you aren't grating, if you're grating against each other, going, because the two names don't actually go together. If you ask me, like if I was I would put Chaz and Dave. That's who I put together. I wouldn't put Dermot. Like just Dermot is wrong.
It's a terrible name.
It's a terrible. Like if you were a joiner and you made a joint that was made up of a Dermot and a Dave, you would fail your FOSS course. You know what I mean? It wouldn't go together.
Yeah, absolutely would.
Now, an artist would come in and go, that is fucking beautiful. Smoke a cigarette and walk back out of the room and offer 10 grand for it. But do you know, like it's
totally. Yeah.
That's the beauty of it too, is that people, like I said, you were two lads and you just at the right time, when everyone were going out. And ironically, the two of you came together over the chief, the satirical himself.
Absolutely, yeah, the ultimate. It's gas. And I mean, like, as I said, like you walk in there and we're so lucky to be surrounded as well with our team. Like our team's not big; there's only 5 of us, including the 2 of us. And I mean, there's been shows in our time slot who've had 11 people working on the show. Like, that's not an exaggeration. Like, so for us to do it the way we do with 3 people on top of the 2 of us, it's a tight group, and it just means that trust and respect extends outside of the 2 of us. But ultimately, when the red lights go on, it's our 2 microphones that are on,
of course,
and we're the voices of what the 5 of us are working to put together. So, but we're just so lucky. Like it's just phenomenal to have that relationship as your chief working life.
It is a class place to be in, because you probably even outside of work send each other, WhatsApp images of, you making a balls or something like, because the other fellow will absolutely be in tune going, yeah.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And funny enough, somebody asked us actually around the time we moved to Today FM, we were doing loads of press and, interviews for this paper and this magazine or whatever. And people were asking, because at that point, I think it was 14 years we were together. And like, what's the secret of success or whatever? And I was realizing, having talked to people, I was like, do you know what it is? It's that we don't see each other that much outside of work. And that's not a conscious thing, but it's just the reality is that, say, whatever show we've done, we've spent 5 to 6 to 7 hours intensely together professionally, and then we're best mates, but we go, see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And our wives get on, our kids get on, we live fairly close to each other, but him coming to my house, me going to his house is a thing. It's a weird, I see you in this environment. Like, and I think that is part of the reason that our work relationship has been so good for so long, is that we don't live in each other's pockets outside of it.
Is it like, when you hear of a gang boss, like having a great family life, but he also gets on really well with his mistress? Do you know, are ye both each other's mistress in a way, like just a cheeky bit of crack?
Absolute work wife. That's what we call each other. And it genuinely is. Like, think about it. Like, I have spent at least as much, if not more time in my life with him than I have with my wife. Like, it's 50-50. Like, so my relationship with him is as, I won't say as important, but it's as big, physically big in my life of time. It's physically big as it is with my wife. And, as I said, it's a phenomenal position to be in for that kind of freedom and love for each other, to be part of your daily working slog. And look, it's the same as if we were working on a factory floor, it would be the same thing. But it's the fact that your job is always a job, but it's the fact that we can go in there and go, I'm going in to work with my best mate, and my job is pretty much to have the crack.
Yeah. Like, that's an unbelievably privileged position to be in, isn't it? Like,
ludicrous. Yeah. Ludicrous.
Yeah, it's a weird one. And myself, mate of mine, Jerry McBride, we have another podcast called The Tom and Jerry Show. I mean, what else were you going to call it, realistically? Like, but we have people on, and you'd actually be terrible for it, because we have people on, and a bonus one where it's a 10, 20-minute chat about their worst gig ever. Sure. But you just turned around, you'd be terrible. You'd be, I won't lie, lads. I've been absolutely smashing it for like 25 years. I mean, valedictorian, Russian, trainers for winners. You know what I mean? Just TFN. Honestly,
it's all happening. Yeah.
It's just
what's next, guys? What's next for me? You know.
I love the notion that you bring that oligarch back up and go, hey man, what's the crack?
Yes. Do you remember in 1997 we were going to work together? Let's do it now.
It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, with McBride is the same thing. Like, we don't hang out, but because we're in converse so often, he'll still send me pictures of like I sent him a picture. I hit my hand with a hammer today, burst my finger wide open. Wouldn't have shown it to anybody, but thought McBride will love that now.
McBride loved that. Yeah.
He loved that. And he did. He actually messaged, love that now. Just love that. Because his head, I knew it was in the middle of the day. His head, he works for sometimes, he writes a lot for marketing companies and stuff. Yeah. So he's a What for Whispers writer, so he's very sharp with this stuff. Like, yeah. And it does is he'd love to be out swinging a hammer and even hitting his hand. Gotcha. Do you know that kind of moment? Like,
yeah. But love that now.
Love that. Come on, keep that up. Keep them pictures coming now. And but fair play. You gotten, as you said, like with the DIY, you originally didn't come from a DIY background, but you went ahead, built the room down the end of the garden. What? Because it is the ultimate dad thing, but most dads kind of only do half a job. Yeah, but I have a funny feeling though you'd finish at home like.
Oh Jesus, yeah. Like here's the thing. So I remember when I left home, late enough now, 27, moved into town with my then girlfriend, now wife. I remember my dad saying to me, he was like, you can't hang a picture. And he wasn't like having a go. He was just being, he was like, what are you going to do if, Tracy brings home a piece, or this is her, what if she wants to hang that on the wall? And I go, I'll just give you a buzz. And he's like, I'm not driving into town to hang a picture on your wall. And I was like, well, I'll get a man. And he was like, you're not getting a man. I was like,
you're not getting a man.
That. That's future me's problem. I'll worry about that, whatever. So we eventually got to the point where exactly this kind of thing. I was saying to Tracy, oh, we need to hang that. She's like, yeah, just hang it. And I was like, but I don't know how to hang it. She was like, just drill a hole in the wall. I was like, well, what if I make a mistake? She's like, we'll fill it and then drill another one. And I was like, oh. And it kind of it unlocked this kind of fear that I had. It just went, oh yeah, I could just hang the picture on the hole, like beside, I can cover the hole. And I was like, okay. And then within 6 months, I had built a dining suite.
Go away.
Literally.
You took on a dining suite?
Within 6 months, she had seen something in a magazine. It was actually an outdoor thing. And it was you'll know as an engineer. So it's a square table, and then it's 4 right angle chairs. So they sit out, and then when you want them, they go, and they fit exactly around the table. And it was, these kind of legs so that they fit in between the 4 chairs, whatever. It was geometrically beautiful. And she was like, I want that. And we looked at it, and it was £3,000, whatever. We couldn't afford that, whatever. And I looked at it and went, but it's just like cross legs, a flat top, then the chairs are these angles. I was like, I can make that out of MDF. She's like, you can't. I was like, I definitely can. Like, let's sure give it a go.
Yeah.
So I literally bought the MDF sheets. B&Q used to do they charge you 50 cents for a cut.
To cut it for you.
They'd actually put them in there. So I brought over my measurements, got all the bits I needed, loaded them in the car, came back, screw gun, put it together. She bought the foam inside in, I don't know, some Hickeys or something.
Yeah.
And we wrapped the whole thing in this material that we got online and staple gunned it all underneath. Now, it was MDF. It weighed an absolute ton.
Yeah.
So moving the 4 chairs back in was like a 2-man job. But
get the winch! Get the fucking winch!
But in fairness, it worked. Now, was it the most beautifully exact piece of woodworking you've ever seen? No, but did I set out to do something and achieve it? Yeah, and that just broke down the walls for me. So since then, yeah, like built that showroom out the back. I did a porch at the front of the house. I did the deck just recently, literally in the last month or so, 2 months.
Oh, good stuff.
Full composite deck with, I don't know if you've ever seen the adjustable plastic pedestals and the aluminium joists.
Yeah.
God, that was a learning curve, dude.
Yeah.
Like I was fairly handy going into that, and I was like, this is a nightmare.
And you went with composite. Fair play.
Yeah, went with
You're
composite
dead right.
because, like, look, the last one was 10 years down, but by the time I was putting the composite down, it was probably 4 different types of decking board. Because you obviously buy them in bulk, you build you what you need, and then your kid stomps a hole in one of them, and you go up to B&Q and they have a different one.
Yeah.
You're like, just get that one. It's a different whatever. And yeah, it was wrecked. And the subframe I thought was fine. It wasn't. So yeah. So, but it's that kind of stuff, like I put a polycarbonate roof over the deck on a pergola, and that was a job, getting 75 kilo sheets of polycarbonate up.
But that's gotten much nicer, that polycarbonate. It used to be pure rank stuff you put over hen house. Like,
yeah, cellular stuff is gick. Like, this is like, you can't even see it. It's like glass. Like, you literally can't see it. Like, it's glass.
Lovely. Guessing you didn't drop any of them, did you?
No, they were ridiculous. You know what I used? You know the plasterboard hitch.
Yeah.
You know the thing that you get, the lifter.
Yeah.
So I rented one of them that you're supposed to use inside on the ceiling. I used that to try and get it up. And then I hopped up on the pergola, wrapped a strap around it, and and got it up back of the house, drilled it in, and away we went. So did the job.
Nice.
But I love that stuff. Like, I absolutely love that stuff. And that has all come from that one conversation with my dad, followed by the conversation with my missus gone. She's just like, just do it. And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a bash.
Yeah.
And yeah, it works out great. Like,
but also, like, there's a true line when Tracy went to it. It's just so fucking much. Just give it a go. If it doesn't work, give it another crack. Like, but that opened the musician head in you, and also the way you've been throughout your entire life. You're going, do you know what? I'm probably going to smash it in the end.
She was probably a different story, but yeah, back on the travelator. Yeah, give it a go. Yeah.
I love that, but I love hearing that, because I'm saying to lads, because the amount of my Dublin friends are going, who literally have to get a man in for everything, and they think I'm some sort of superhuman. When I put up this picture of Yoke when we were in ultimate lockdown last year, when I was not having a meltdown, but it was like, well, that's life at the moment. And I got a load of pallets off a bloke up the road, boxes like 4x70 screws, and just started putting shit together. Built a yoke around the barbecue, built it, and it was lit, like it was banging like pallets together. And the amount of lads went, would you make one for me? I'll pay you. I'm going, are you joking me? This is pallets just literally slapped together. Like, and I go, you couldn't. You could. You can. You definitely can.
Yeah, you literally can. That's so true. And there's so many people that never look. And look, I don't. I understand that maybe you just mightn't be. Like, I'm not a good woodworker. I'm not a good finish man. Like, so when
that's a joiner's job. Like, that's the reality. That's a joiner's job.
And that is a skill set that requires years of study and practice and learning. So I'm not that. But if you go to me like here's a rake of pallets and 4x70 screws. Nice. I'm here for this. Like, I'll knock you up whatever you need. But it's that beauty. Like, even the porch outside now. If you walk past the house, you'd be like, geez, that's a gorgeous porch, covered in cedar. You go, like, beautiful.
Is it what's known, Dave, in the buildings as she's a beauty at 2020. From 20 feet away at 20 miles an hour, she's fucking gorgeous.
You're spot on. And literally today I had a chat with my wife, and I was like, I'm going to tear the cedar off the front. And she's like, what? No. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to tear it off, because there's 3 pieces above the door they're the tiniest bit out, but that's all I see. I'm not a perfectionist, but it's just, I know that if I just used the chop saw more carefully, they would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And it was 11 o'clock at night. I was banging in the last piece of cedar to get her done. I was like, woohoo, finished. And I'm like, every day going, bollocks.
Yeah.
So at some point,
But apparently, talking with like really good carpenters, that's the key to getting really good finishes, is knowing when to stop and come back at it the next day.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times I'll just go, sure, I'll just finish it. I'll finish today, and you'll come back the next day and go, that has to come off. Now I'm back 3 hours. That has to come off because look at the cut of that fucking thing.
Yeah, you're so right. I built some guitars with a fella. No, sorry.
Stop.
No, sorry. There's a guy who builds guitars in Westport. He's an custom built guitars. Absolutely. And he messaged me on Instagram one day and went, "How are you? I'm coming to your show in Castlebar in October, whenever it was. Let's just say June." He's like, "I want to build you a guitar." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, weirdo."
Because there's a few of them around.
A guitar, yeah.
I'll make it with my blood.
Yeah.
Can we be best friends?
We messaged back and forth a bit, and then I realized he wasn't going to kill me, and he was actually a lovely man. And I said, "Okay, yeah, this sounds amazing." So he said, "Look, what do you want?" Blah blah. So, and funny enough, I said to him, "I want the guitar to look like it will give me splinters, but to be 1% below that. As in, it won't give me splinters, but only by 1%. And he was like, "I have you." So we talked back and forth over, and then he said to me, "I'm going to build you a guitar out of a pallet." Which you just meant. And I went, "Stop the lights." And he was like, "Yeah, it's rough as fuck." And I was like, "Yes." So I met him in Castlebar, came to the gig, and then at the end of the gig, I said, "Make sure you stick around." He stuck around. He unzipped this thing and produced this. Like, it was one of those moments. This absolutely perfect in my head guitar. And so I was blown away and loved it. And he was delighted to give it to me, whatever. And then within 3 months, I was driving to his house in Westport. He's the shed at the back. Driving to stay in his house. This lad I had met one time, to meet his missus and his 2 kids and his dog, to build a guitar with him. And he is a master of knowing when to stop. Because it'd be midnight on the Saturday, and I'd be like, "Look, if we do this for 2 hours, we'll go to bed at 2:30, we'll have this bit done there." And he's like, "No, we're going to bed now." And we're not going to get Chinese. Then we're going to go to bed. But we're going to go to bed in a minute. We're going to stop now.
Separately.
And we're going to come back. And I'm like, "No, because..." Well, whatever it takes. But yeah. But literally, yeah. And he has this intrinsic moment where he just goes, "No, I'm putting the raster file down, and I'm walking out the door, and where are you going?" "No, it's time now." And I'm like, "Okay." And I've gone down, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 times since, and built stuff with him. And he's given me a dig out with some of the projects here, and we're going out to work on something at the weekend in another bass house. And just that expertise, that knowledge of, now it's time to hold our whisht and come back at it in the morning. And you're like, "Okay, I'll trust you. You've been right every time."
It's the ultimate dad move, like, isn't it? It's the ultimate dad move.
Yeah.
It's the old bull talking to the young bull. No.
Totally.
We'll come back and ride them all tomorrow. You're okay, young fella. You know what I mean? Like, there's that. And that's still struggling with that shit. Like, that's amazing. And have you gone full dad, like, gotten into your cars and everything and all the rest of it? Like, as I found myself.
No. I'm really lucky that I'm, because of my privileged position, I'm a BMW ambassador at the moment, and I've been an ambassador with different brands for the last 5 years. So I literally, I get a new car, that new car feeling every month, every 6 weeks. It's unreal. And I just rock up, and my kids are like, "What have you got today?" And I'm like, it's like I work in a garage or something, because, like, you know the way your mate's dies, and he'd always come home with a different car. Like, that's me. They're literally, "What is it today?" I'm like, "It's whatever's out there. Have a look." You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's a great relationship. I love working with them, actually.
That is a nice position to be in. In fairness, but I mean, you sound like at least you'd figure your way out. I remember Carol Spain, we were working together down in Limerick we did the Panto at UCH. And I think he was with, who was he with? Was he with Citroen or somebody had him or something like that? Yeah. And we were in the car, and the whole car was dipping at the front, and my side, I went, "Why are you pulling on the steering wheel so fucking hard?" He went, "What do you mean?" I said, "Because it's always been like that." Because, "Oh, Jesus, pull in." He's been driving with the tire like like 10% of what was in it for ages. I'm like, just get the thing in the garage. I'm going to kill you. I swear to, I just feel put 26 in it, and we'll see is the tire okay. He gets out and he goes, right. Where and what are you talking about?
Amazing.
Carl, you're almost 50. You're almost, because there's always been a man to do it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
But never had to. But also, I mean, you don't have to either, but you still went away. You know, it's in you.
It is. I don't know. Do you know what? I was on a podcast a while back, and it was maybe last year or something, and I actually realized in the podcast what I am. You know that phrase, "jack of all trades, master of none," is used as a slur.
Yeah.
It's like you should be. No, I am absolutely a jack. I'm a jack of radio. I'm a jack of music. I'm a jack of languages. I'm a jack of DIY. That's absolutely what I am, and I couldn't be happier.
Of course.
Like, I love being able to do bits of everything. And like, I remember having a conversation with someone else recently. We're like, are you watching this show or do you? And I was like, I don't really watch them. Oh, what do you watch? I just watch instructionals on YouTube. They're like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, I just watch and I learn how to like pour epoxy resin. Have you ever done it? No, I haven't done it, but I know how to do it. So if at some point I need to pour epoxy resin, I'm cool. I know how to do that shit. So that's my kind of, I have this constant yearning for baseline knowledge, not expertise. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and, as I said, learn how to do the most beautiful biscuit joints on earth. I just want to know, what is a biscuit joint? Oh, I've got that. If I ever need to do it, I'll probably be able to give it a go. Next. What am I going to learn next? Do you know what I mean? So
do you know
that's me. Your
next rabbit hole. Well, it isn't much of a rabbit hole, but did you ever come across a guy called Fred Dibnah? Oh
yeah, Fred Dibnah. Hang on. Is he not Coronation Street?
No. That was Fred Dibnah is a real person. Well, he's passed away now. But if you just search him on YouTube, you're going to.
Okay.
He's one of these. He's from Bolton originally, up near Wigan way, and basically this guy is so badass old school. We're doing myself and McBride are doing a whole show on him because we're just in love with the guy. He's just like, we're talking he's a steeplejack, but he's also like, he's a jack of all trades and can do them all so old school with a fag hanging out of his mouth. Shit, 300-foot chimneys just falling behind him going, oh, that was a good one, wasn't it? And he walks out.
Oh my God.
Just...
Okay,
and no sense of badassery about him whatsoever.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely an animal, a savage, like savage, without ever being a savage. But I think, I don't know, was he on the Travelator of Life? But he definitely ended up in a great plot. He got his own show on BBC, studying all the museums of the Industrial Revolution and stuff, which absolutely fascinated him. Huge pistons. For myself and the missus, God, she's a good woman. She actually went with me for a week around the UK looking at museums of the Industrial Revolution.
That's love. That's love
right there. Truth be told, no interest in that, in giant, 40-foot high by 8-foot diameter pistons. But God bless her.
Let's go, Tom. Let's do it. Exactly.
Let's do it. Do you know, I won't take up any more of your time because this has been absolutely delicious and delightful. Thanks so much, Dave. This has been lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, man.
And if I've done anything, would you consider a mullet? I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. It's a big undertaking.
Lockdown was cruel to a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I had big hair. Like, my hair gets big. Like, this was
you got good hair.
Big quickly. George Michael, like Club Tropicana hair was what I had for a while. And lockdown, I got to a point where if I could have been brave enough, and if I'd been on the Travelator, the length was coming at the back.
Was it?
And this is from a man who at one point had nipple hair. No, I mean, sorry, nipple length hair.
Nipple length hair.
Yeah. So I've done the full, like, I've been there. And I was kind of going, do you know what? I could nearly push. And then they said, barbers are back. And I went, I'm fine back. And I chickened out. So, but what I'm looking at there is spectacular. And the combination of that and the two-tone tash, like, you're on another level, bro.
I Travelator myself to this moment. It wasn't intended. But I was open.
What a journey!
I was open to it,
Yeah.
Dave. And before I knew it,
and here you are.
I was Dog the Bounty Hunter, essentially.
It's perfection. It's absolute perfection.
Dave, you're an absolute star. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
A pleasure, Tom. Thank you for having me, man. Best luck with everything.